Well, if it isn't another sport mode breakdown. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at this trap type of drop. It's in the style of Viperactive, Tisoki, maybe a little bit of ISO. Just think, I guess, Sable Valley. Before we get into it, I'm going to say this once so I don't have to bother you the whole video. Let's get some saturation and some OTT on this mic. This is actually the demo song for my brand new sample pack, Sport Mode Selection Volume 2. Go check it out. It's out now. So yeah, about, I don't know, I would say like 95% of the samples in this track are from that. Really happy with the final product. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I'll play the intro first here. So down here we got one of the atmospheres. It evolves later on. Got a bit of noise. Just really cool texture background loop. Just kind of chopping it up. So this is like kind of the main background element. You hear the whole intro. If I turn this off, take a look here. I'm pretty sure it's just a sine wave. Yeah, with a bit of noise on it. And we turn this stuff back on. Mostly it's the delay that's giving it the width and the kind of bounciness. Pretty cool. And it, it goes one note up for some variation in the second part. Super simple sound, right? And then this analog patch thing. Obviously, you can't put MIDI. I guess I could put presets in the pack, but I just exported out like notes from some of these sounds to put in the pack. It's another just tension element in the background. Then we got a respace, pretty typical, normal respace. Yeah, I highlighted this sample white because, I know you guys probably think I have a beautiful voice, but this is not actually my scream. But, the track was kind of missing some kind of, theme element. So I just found the scream, threw it in. So let's play the break section now here, starting from the vocals. We gain a couple of new pad elements. Put these in the vocal group because they're made out of vocals, but they're really just atmospheric pads. You already heard that one. Got this synth boy. It's like a string. Really nice one here. And then from that scream sample, just looping. It's like the very end of the scream right here. I just thought it sounded cool, almost like a siren, so I just looped it here. And then here we get some bass elements from the actual drop starting to creep in. So let's see, got this guy. So what is that one? One of my turnarounds. I just grabbed the very end of it and just chopped it up to make this little bass fill here with the amp really crushing it. Kind of a response to that is this guy, which is again from the drop mid basses, just resampled. And something I do a lot is if you put like without the shifter, just sounds like our drop downbeat. But when you add a shifter and you crank the chorus down, kind of removes the tonality of it and it just becomes more of a perk sound. I guess not really a perk for this instance, but I do this a lot with snares when I just want them, when I want a tonal snare to become a perk pretty much. Basically, I'm teasing, I guess the pattern of the drop, but I don't want to give away the notes or the tonality or basically the full picture of it yet. Okay, in our samples group here, it's that same noise, but we're gaining a couple of these texture sounds just to kind of fill it in, make it a little more interesting. Panned left and right. Pretty cool. Just stretched them around. Then at the very end here, we're going to have a riser and some lasers. And then for the drums, kicks and some layered claps here with this white noise. Just sweeping. And one thing I'm going to mention here, I'm not trying to throw shade or anything like that, but a lot of these sample pack companies that you get your samples from, they're like, oh, project file included. And you go to open it, it's like 20 tracks, you know, very, very basic, simple. What I tried to do here, I treated this just like any other project that I open up, you know, whether I'm using my samples or stuff from Splice. I'm trying to be a little bit more creative with the use of them. I'm not just doing drag and drop. I'm trying to show you how you could use these sounds in your own projects in creative ways, and not just, you know, like I was saying, in sample pack companies will give you the project file and it's like 2 loops over one of their drum loops and that's it. It's like, that's not really going to get you anywhere as a producer. So, all right, so next we got the build. Let's play that. All right, let's dive into this. We'll go drums first. So you got your kick. You got 2 claps here. Now instead of layering them, they're kind of alternating. So I'll play them at the same time. Creating a bit of a pattern. Then they stack again here. At the very end, got this reverse kick. Yeah, so drums, obviously super simple. The same noise sweep thing. Got a bit of a ride. And then I used a cashmere snare. I didn't have one of these. I didn't make one of these in the pack, so. But this is like a super basic. I mean, here's the name if you want to look it up on Splice. Cashmere got those tight snares. I only got those loose snares. Wait, what? All right, in the sidechain group, we got a few risers here. We got this guy. And this guy playing quarter notes. And then one that is just going. Little noise thingy. Producer tag. Sport mode. And then we're starting to get a bit of the drop basses coming in here. So we got this sustain quarter note one. Just goes the whole time. And we got this sweet sustain layer. I love this. This is probably one of my favorite samples in the whole pack. I'll just play it here. It's like a super screechy, kind of a saw, like a detuned saw layer, but has a bit of pan on it. And I don't have Soothe, but I used Boba to just kind of crush it so it doesn't really have any harsh tonality peaks, but you still, you know, kind of hear what note it's playing. And the drop 2, like, really good layer to fill in the high end. Kind of low drone. Little texture right before the pre-drop. Got the little rave stab here that I froze. So that's like the main, I guess the main call for the drop. Then we go into this stuff, which we'll get into. Even in the build here, we're doing a bit of call and response, which is really just teasing the rhythm that's happening in the drop. So we have that guy. And then the response is this resample from the drop, which are the donk sounds, the gun sounds. A bit of rhythm, and then eventually they pitch up. Okay, and then layered with the rave stab there is the mid bass resample. It's kind of hard to feel what's going on when I'm playing them all individually, but I'll replay the build after we go through everything, and you'll kind of see how everything fits together. Got a sub drop, and then a sub riser. Okay, yeah, so here's that scream vocal that I cheated and didn't make myself. So as that one fades out, you know, if you guys have seen my videos, I do this all the time. Just freezing that last part of it right there. Put that in a granulator, and then you can shift it up. Turn it into a riser. And then some of these pads are going to be fading out here for the build. As I'm bringing in some of the bass elements for the build, I'm taking out some of the melodic vocal elements. So all that stuff is fading out. And just like that, we're done with the build. Let's go ahead and give it a quick playthrough. let's play the drop.
Sport mode.
Sweet. All right, let's go over the drums first. The snare definitely steals the show. It's the snare's world and we're all just living in it. So here's the kick. For this kind of style, you're gonna want something super punchy, short, to the point. And you'll notice pretty low, like not much of a click. And then for the snare, just want something like super snappy. You'll see here at the very beginning, it's like strictly the sine wave of the snare to give it the tonality. And then if we look at the EQ, there's that second peak there. And that is what gives it that, I don't know, kind of ISO trap feel to have that second resonant peak. And you'll see I even labeled the notes. It's D sharp for the fundamental, then G sharp is that little resonant peak it hits. And then that's just layered with one of these. It's also a good snare, but I just wanted a little bit more of a clap-like sound. Just kind of the white noise from it, and also in the reverb, just give a little bit of space. At the end of the phrase here, we got just a couple of fills. And you'll notice also the snare went up in pitch. So I actually dropped a shifter on it for the second 4 bars, slowly rise up. And the reason I did that is because I did the same thing for these bass elements. This whole drop samples group right here is getting a shifter for this 4 bars. So doing the same thing with the snare just kind of keeps everything in the same pitch. And then the hats. So yeah, you got some really nice, crispy, white, noisy rides. And then this top loop, crispy, like transient, heavy little hat loop there. And yeah, let's play the drums again. That's our drums. All right, now for the basses. Yeah, so up here, it's just a little white noise sweep, a little riser for the turnaround. So this drop samples group is mostly for the turnaround. It's got a couple of these basses and that sustain that I showed off earlier. The real call and response action is happening in the synths group. So let's get in here, look at some of these sounds. So the call is this rave stab. That is gonna get layered with, I think I showed this off earlier, that turnaround. I just grabbed the little end of it and we're layering that here. Notice how I'm omitting this first impact because the kick is taking up this space anyways and the sidechain is not really gonna play it. Like if I play in context, you won't even notice that there's no basses happening here. Maybe a little bit, but I like that little the little offset that's going on there. That is, if I take off the processing, a lot more dull without especially this amp that's doing a lot. I'm ducking this to make space for that rave stab sound. But other than that, it's just some EQ, slight multiband compression, and a saturator. And then we have this, I think this is just a couple of inits here, or one's a saw, one's an init. Without this EQ, with the EQ, I'm saying EQ, but it's a lot, it's got a couple of OTTs scattered throughout, but this is just shaped in a very specific way that I just saved it because I know what it sounds like now, like, when I made it. And now I just kind of sprinkle it into projects where I know I kind of need this buzzy saw sound, but one that isn't taking up much of this low information. So yeah, that plays. And then we got a couple of sub layers. So the main one, the noise layer. So that's our call. And then the response here, it's going to be, this is the main sound of the whole track, I guess. It's donk A from the basses folder in the sample pack. You can see pretty much no processing, just a little wider chorus and EQ without this stuff. Honestly, it has a lot more high end, but I was getting that from other sounds, so I removed it from this one. And that first little bit is due to this shifter right here. Yeah, this one right here on the main synths group, going sweeping up for that first little hit. And you can see it sweeps down a little, so just doing a little bit of movement with that. So that gets layered with, let's just start adding these in, layered with some guns. That's how that one sounds. Again, just doing some EQ. Every quarter note, 3 times repeating. This is a sustain, I believe. Yeah. So it's a sustain that I turned into more of like a hype attack thingy. I don't know. A little synth stab. And a lot of these I'm putting chorus and wider just to make them wider. And Boba is like Soothe. It's free. It's a Max for Live device and it's super awesome. Recommend you guys download it if you have Ableton Suite. If I crank this just to show you. And you could also play the delta, which is what it's removing. Play these 2 groups here. But yeah, this next section I think is pretty cool. I'll start from the top, keep it organized. So here's our response now. So you could see this whole section is just constantly building the energy back up until we, repeat again. That's thanks to this shifter that was kind of saying how the snare follows it too. So we got our basses in the background here. Got a riser coming in and, same layers as before. And then how I was using in the pre-drop, or right before the pre-drop, this texture sound just very minimal, but helps to rebuild it. This group is, I think, the coolest sounds right here. Sweet. Yeah, so first one here, we got this donk from the pack. So I reversed it into each hit just to make it like very spacious and, really big. Just an EQ on that. And if you're curious how to make these yourself, these kind of donks, watch I'll put it up on the screen, but I have a short on making these donks for my remix I did with Vodnik. It's just made from Serum white noise. I guess any white noise works. And some EQ peaks, but yeah, check that out. So we got the donk and then something a bit lower, this wub sound. And this one really is cool with the shifter going up. So the first one, and then by the time we hit the last one, I don't know, I think it turned out like really cool with how the shifter is pitching up the harmonics in this one. And this one, I made it gray because it's not from the pack. How could I do this? But you could pretty easily remake a sound like this. Probably just using a saw, detuning it, super high octave. I use this sample, like this specific sample, in almost all of my songs, so I had to throw it in here. Then this last one is, again, a stab layer, but like the loop it comes from is this sustain loop. Really sick. Obviously for this section, to make it fit in, we just turn it into a stab, remove the lows. So that's that group. Really love this whole group. And again, with the basses or the kind of more sustained stuff underneath. And I'm sure you could kind of hear this guy just filling in like the upper frequencies without this guy. And now with it. Really sick. And then, yeah, so underneath kind of this stuff, these are kind of our main synths for this 4 bars. So working with that kind of in these gaps right here is going to be that main rave stab playing a different pattern. Just repeating, pretty simple. Got a bit of reverb on there. And then I layered it with this white noise. So this is just bright white from Serum, and this LFO controls just the EQ on it. to kind of make it into a bit of a sweeping motion, and then just making it a bit louder with this rack here. So that's super simple. So this laser, this is a cool one as well. It's like a laser fill for the end of a phrase. But again, in the name of actually being creative with samples and not just dragging and dropping, I used it as more of a transient layer for this last part of this 4 bars here. So right here. And then I extended it into the next 4 bars as well. Oh yeah, I didn't even notice this, but that's a different rave stab sound from the pack. As well, layered with all that stuff is these guys going back and forth. This adds a very minimal but nice widening effect to the whole stack of sounds. Then for the mid basses, I layered a few here. So the first one is that turnaround that we've been using. Then we got this new one here. Comes from a gun loop. Nice. So yeah, I just chopped it up. Really only using the first hit of it. And then this last sound here. It actually comes from one of the subs in the pack. And again, I'm just using that very first hit of it just to fill in some frequencies. So we got our, and then I have 2 layers from MIDI. This is that one we've been using and continue to use the whole drop, and then one more new one, which is just like another saw sounding mid bass. Full stack sounds like this. And then for the sub here, yeah, we got a new sub. It's call it the punch sub. It's just a sub with doing the master tune up 12 with this LFO. Gives a little bit of punch. The noise layer as well. So that's our response. Let's go ahead and play the whole thing, drums included. So second 8 bars, very similar. One thing we're doing is frequency shifting up this group, which is the donks. 180, that adds a little bit of variation. We've also added one more donk layer. Just adds a bit to the energy. Yeah, and then one final new layer is this thing, which is, again, just a gun loop, and it's kind of playing a weird offbeaty type of pattern. Just kind of reinforcing the pattern that's already there. So for the second 8 bars, the last 4 bars is different from this one. It's kind of the same pattern, but we're just gonna be spamming this rave stab. With, yeah, this like harmonic sub sound. So it's a sine wave up 2 octave that's playing up 4 semitones, so it's creating a bit of a harmonic layer. All right, and just like that, we're done with the drop. So I hope that was cool and helpful. I'm gonna go over this rebuild and UKG drop briefly. Do these 2 drops match that well? Probably not, but I wanted to showcase all of the samples and all the types of samples I have in the pack. And, you know, it's mainly focused around trap and UKG/bass house. So the second drop is dedicated to that. So this 8 bars, that's a rebuild, is really just trying to transition to that. So I'll go ahead and play the build here. right, yeah, sweet. Really like how that turned out, honestly. So yeah, to try to get into that UKG rhythm, we're gonna slide this pocket loop in. And I have, I think 4 or 5 of these in the pack. And the reason I call them pocket is because they're swung. So you'll see like where this is the 4th beat, it's off by, I don't know, whatever that is. The hats still land. Like the open hats will still land perfectly on the off beat, but everything else is swung and it gives it that ta-ta, ta-ta kind of groove. And I got a few of those in the pack. And then we got, that same snare rebuilding us in. No kicks or anything in the build. It's a very atmospherical rebuild. Sidechain group, same risers. I kind of tried to keep it organized. This group is all the drop 2 stuff pretty much. The new stuff at least. So we got this pad. And this pad down here, which is kind of the theme for this drop. Really cool, stretched out, granulated melodic pad. And I did something pretty cool with it for right here, which I'll show you guys in a sec. But one more. Yeah, just trying to make this drop a little more melodic. And then this is a cool moment here, this little breath. Just absolutely slammed with reverb. Kind of, I don't know, create this atmospherical moment in the drop. So to start us off here with the drums, we'll fake out. So yeah, really swingy and vibey drums right here, especially this little part. It's coming in hot right there, really nice. So we got this cool fill. It's like a radio fill I made. Got a riser and everything built in. I'm just sidechaining, and I just kept the kick from the loop here. It was crispy enough to keep it in. So I'm just chopping up one of the loops from the pack, and I'm layering it with this clap that has a bit more width and high end. And then we also got another pocket loop here. Same one from the build. And then this isn't drums, it's in the drum group, but I don't know why I put it in here. Just some wub fills. Working with one of these little bongo drum fills. And we got one more here. Really beefy fill there. That's from another completely different loop. One of the other UKG loops. Then in the sidechain group, I have a bit of a moment here, like I said. So this is all just kind of sweeps and risers up at the top here. There he is. This guy's sick. So starts off as this pad, changes notes, and goes into this auto pan situation here. And then for that kind of fake out into this next part, it turns into basically our lead, I guess. Making it a bit more edgy with the frequency shifter. And obviously that's going to stack with some other more aggressive sounds like this one. Yeah, that's that like fake out situation. And then these other pads, as that breath is happening to create that little space here, some of these pads are going to be leading in. Got that guy. So let's go over this 2 bars first. So I wanted to touch on this. So I grabbed this guy, and again, this is in the name of being creative with sample packs and not just doing the drag and drop. I got this cool loop here, right? What I did was I right clicked and I hit convert melody to new MIDI track. And that's what this is. So Ableton tries its best. It definitely misses notes, but it tries its best to take the the notes from whatever audio file you have and turn it into MIDI, which is pretty cool. And it gave me this. And as you can see here, I just dragged in one of the sounds from the pack. If I turn this on, you could just play this like a synth now. Okay, so here is the this note. This is what it's from. I don't know, just a random synth loop from the pack. And I just took one note of it and I put that MIDI from this track onto it. And I messed with the notes a little bit because they were pretty wonky. And we got this sweet, like almost, I don't know, to me it's kind of like a Japanese sounding lead or something. The notes, a little bit of processing, some space with delay in the reverb. I don't even know what this, oh, so this LFO is messing with the auto pan, which is pretty cool. Give it some width. But yeah, so we came out with this really crazy sounding synth from converting this to MIDI. So that plays here. And yeah, if I play these together, you'll hear that they do kind of overlap notes, which sounds cool together. So you could kind of hear this original melody and then me altering it made it something new. And so yeah, that does this little 2 bars, and then we got this riser here. Brings us to the switch up, completely different energy here. So the downbeat is these two, I think. So we got this guy and this guy, and together with the kick on it, really fat little downbeat there. And then yeah, like I showed, that transforming Atmos plus this gun layer gives us this nice switch up energy right here. Couple of fills sprinkled in, and then I should also mention layering with those like the switch up gun bass. This noise is doing a lot right here. Without the noise, it's a lot more dull, so this really helps bring out the crunch in the high end. And then I don't go back to this switch up. Like I just kind of keep it melodic for the rest of the drop. So I'll just go ahead and play that out. You'll see you just kind of stick with the notes here from that resample. And that just about does it. Oh, I need to go outside. I hope that was helpful. I hope it was cool seeing how I would use these samples in a creative way. And hope you guys check out the demo track. If it wasn't for the purpose of this, I would definitely have just released this as a track. I really like how it turned out. So yeah, go stream it on SoundCloud. And most importantly, go check out the pack. Helps me a ton, helps me keep doing this. I put a shit ton of time into making these sounds, collecting from old projects, processing, yada yada. So yeah, go check it out. It would mean the world. And yeah, see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.